Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. I'm bringing you some needed propagation as well as some planters and terrariums that I really just want to use in my home. I hope you enjoy, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And let me know which one is your favorite. The first project is the pen holder propagation station. Now these pen holders are very popular for a variety of projects. You can put faux plants in here or real. I'm choosing to use real plants, so I am taking my hot glue gun and I am going to cover up the back of each piece. And here you'll see I forgot. You want to put a piece of tape on the front side of the pen holder, and that will protect the glue from leaking through and also just give it something to hold to while you wait for it to dry. And I'm also finishing up that shiny gold hot glue from my Z Gallery dupes. If you missed that video, I will link it in the cards above as well as below. It was a lot of fun, but I was left with some gold glittery glue in my glue gun. So now we're going to remove the tape. It was a little bit of a struggle because I get my nails dipped, but if you don't have dipped nails, you can just pull it off, or maybe even use an X-Acto knife to help you get it off. But you see it's nice and dry and sealed so that any water I put in will not leak. And now I'm going to spray paint them in my favorite gold by Rust-Oleum. And of course the piece behind you will show up later, but it's also getting spray painted. And there's again another sneak peek at my last video. If you didn't watch my DIY projects, I will link that video below as well. So I'm taking the butterflies from the Crafter Square section, and I'm also going to spray paint them gold, just like I did in my last video. With these ones, you don't have to get every little inch. I did try to spray underneath just because they have that sort of 3D effect, and it worked out really well so that the majority of the butterfly is gold. So there's a sponge, a sticky sponge on the back of each piece of the butterfly, and I am going to hot glue it to the top of the pencil holders, and then I will add on the top piece as well. Now, to ensure these stick to the back of my counter where I'm going to be placing them, I'm using these command strips. They're used to hold up pictures and posters, and they don't cause any damage to your wall, which is why I really like them. And they're super easy to put on. You just squeeze them together like Velcro essentially. Make sure it's nice and smooth, and then you peel off the back and put a piece of it on your propagation piece, and the rest will go on the wall. Make sure you press down really well and ensure that they are sticking to your piece. If you want, you can wait for it to cure. I was told you want to wait about 24 hours if you want to make sure that they actually adhere to your propagation station and also to the back of your wall. And you'll want to do this prior to adding water in your plants. Now let's get them hung and add some water, and then I'll put in my little cuttings. And now for the final reveal. The next project is a thrifted propagation station. I actually thrifted this from my parents' home. It was not in use and initially came with a bunch of seasonings and 5 actual glass containers, 2 of which my mom can no longer locate. So I took this off her hands and I'm spray painting it gold, as you see here, and I'm simply going to be putting the glass back in. Now you can reuse this as a seasoning station if you wanted to hold your essentials like salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, etc. I wanted to use these as a propagation station and know that they can be hard to find, or you might have to purchase beakers, which aren't necessarily inexpensive, or you have to buy a lot for a lower price point. So I'm showing you can put the caps back on. It's still food safe. I only sprayed the top of them, but I'm of course going to take the caps off and fill with water and just add my little cuttings. And now for the final reveal. For more photos and behind the scenes actions like my coffee bar and different ways to display the items I DIY, make sure you follow me on Instagram. My handle is @flutteringthrough. DIY 3 are these light bulb terrariums I found at Michael's. They were on sale. I believe they were 50 to 60% off. So I paid about $2 for each one. And you just take the top off. They didn't cost very much at all, like I said. And I'm going to take this Loctite that I found from Dollar Tree to help hold down some of the items I'm placing inside of the terrarium. This pick is also from the Michael's clearance sale. These were 70% off. So again, I only paid a couple dollars for them. I'm going to start by clipping off a piece of my pick, and I'm going to try to size it up and make sure that it's a piece I want to fit in there. I didn't want to fight with putting the entire thing in there. So you'll see later on I do cut it down. I'm taking some black rocks from Dollar Tree. I prefer the small ones for this project, but you can use bigger ones. Just note it'll make a difference in the appearance, of course, of your terrarium. So I'm putting the rocks in, getting impatient, and decided to pour and end up with rocks everywhere, which is of no surprise to me. But after I cleaned up all the rocks, it's time to add in some of the moss. So I'm going to be sticking that in there, and I do recommend having some tweezers on hand. I have a pack, I believe it was a 5-pack from Dollar Tree with variations in the ends of the tweezers, which was really nice. So I used a wider one so that I could grip things and push them down into the terrarium. Now let's add our pick. I cut it down again, as I said before, just so it would fit. And I just had to squeeze it in there. I used the Loctite for this project to make sure it didn't move around too much, and I just put it on the end of the pick and then place it inside, again using my tweezers to help me get it deep down into the terrarium. final review. DIY 4 is a standard project. It is a terrarium. You can find these at Dollar Tree. I happened to get this whole setup at a conference I went to, and I thought it was the best sort of party favor idea that I've seen in a long time. They had the Dollar Tree terrariums out, rocks in a beautiful vase, and then air plants that you could take home with you. Still concerned about how anyone who flew in got these home, but that doesn't matter right now. It's a really great idea if you like air plants, which are easy to get into. DIY 5 I thought was so stinking cute. They're magnet planters. I am going to be using faux plants for this, but you can certainly put air plants in. I was trying to say earlier that air plants are easy to get into because they are so simple to take care of. They don't require dirt. They don't encourage gnats, which have been a problem here and there. And I really just spritz mine once a week, a couple little spritzes, and she's been surviving thus far. And the conference was several months ago. So what I did was I took a box cutter. You could use an X-Acto knife, but I couldn't get the right amount of pressure to get the glass or to get the plastic out of this bigger magnet. So I used my box cutter to cut it down and snap it out, as you saw. Now that one was a little more messed up and I had to glue it back and wait for the glue to dry, but luckily these come in a 2-pack from Dollar Tree. So of course the second one, which I did not record, cut very nicely and snapped right out. And I didn't have to glue the bottom piece back in any capacity. So I'm taking the Loctite again and adding in the white rocks from Dollar Tree. These are the mini ones again, but you can use the larger ones. I think the mini ones are actually kind of hard to come by. And eventually I just build up the rocks with the hot glue. And be careful with everything you're doing for this project. You're using sharp objects, watch your fingers. You're using hot glue, it can burn. And these tins are plastic, and I believe the smaller one you'll see later is actually metal. So I could feel the heat from my hot glue on my hand. So you'll definitely want to hold this up at the top while you're hot gluing or on the sides and avoid damaging your hands. So I'm taking a piece from a hanging plant at IKEA. I just snapped it off and I'm going to try to maneuver it in there to see where I want it. Again, taking some hot glue and just sticking it where I think it'll look best. And I used several of the pieces from this hanging plant. And here I'm going to take a longer piece. I want some of it to hang out. I think giving it sort of a 4D effect would be awesome and really cute to look at on my refrigerator. So I'm gluing that in, knowing that I'm going to be pulling it over the lip of the bottom plastic piece. And then I take another piece and I stick that out as well. Again, I want to encourage that sort of 4D appeal. Now you can do all rocks, but I was trying to cover up some of the hot glue again and any mistakes I might have made. So I'm adding in some moss from Dollar Tree, just hot gluing it down to cover up rocks, and if you have any of the stems sticking out, it'll cover that up as well. And here I'm going to glue down the leaves because my cut was so rough. My box cutters are getting old, I guess. And you have to be careful. This is a hard plastic, it can crack easily. So to cover up any mistakes, I'm trying to pull the picks out a little bit more and glue the leaves down where I need, and then I went back in with some moss, and here is the final reveal. For the second magnet, I'm using black rocks, and this is the smaller one. The big ones come in a 2-pack, and I believe the small ones come in a 2-pack as well at Dollar Tree. They might actually come in a 3-pack, but don't quote me on that. So I'm taking my black rocks. I'm going for a more modern look with this, so I'm only using rocks to fill in the base. And there's a pick there on the side, again from the Michaels 70% off summer sale. That will fit in here perfectly. And here's the final reveal. I really like all of these projects, but the magnets are super cute and modern, and I don't have to water them or take care of them. Again, thank you all for joining me. I really hope you enjoyed these terrariums, planters, and propagation stations that I really did need. And please let me know which one is your favorite in the comments. Bye!